Well, good morning and welcome to Living Beyond Limits. Well, you probably don't know this, but this coming Saturday is United Nations Day. Who knew? And so I'd like to share with you something about the United Nations. It says the United Nations, which has a striking spiritual dimension, is celebrated every year on October 24th to commemorate the anniversary of the official creation of the United Nations in 1945. That year, after the turmoil and destruction of World War II, the United Nations were established in order to prevent future devastating wars. 50 governments gathered in San Francisco to draft the UN Charter. And we were just in San Francisco like 2 weeks ago, and we went to the Muir Woods, and that is actually where they signed the declaration in their charter, was in the Muir Woods. It was really cool. So the work of the United Nations reaches every corner of the globe. Although best known for peacekeeping, peace building, conflict prevention, and humanitarian assistance, there are many other ways the United Nations affects our lives and makes the world a better place. The organization works on a broad range of fundamental issues, from sustainable development, protecting the environment, supporting refugees, disaster relief, countering terrorism, disarmament and non-proliferation, to promoting democracy, human rights, gender equality, and the advancement of women, governance and international health, clearing land mines, expanding food production, and more. Wow. The United Nations was built on spiritual principles and universal values such as peace, human rights, human dignity, human worth, justice, respect, good neighborliness, and freedom. Many of the key founders of the UN and those in leadership positions there today also use spirituality and values as a guiding force. So the decisions and actions that the United Nations makes are guided by spiritual principles. And as such, they have made such a tremendous impact on this planet at large. And so here we are right now with election season upon us, and with that is being bombarded by commercials on the radio and commercials on TV and all the mailers that you get every day, along with having to make decisions about ballot measures that we have to make decisions about, and selecting between different candidates. I think it behooves us to be aware of and to listen to our spiritual principles and values. I think that it behooves us because it is those values, when we keep them at the forefront of our mind and pay attention to them, it is then those values that actually guide and determine our decisions and our choices and what it is that we do. And when we make decisions that are based on spiritual values, like the UN, it actually serves the broader whole. And so at Centers for Spiritual Living, we have a global vision that leads us in making our choices and decisions and in what we do in the world. And one small piece of that global vision says, we see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principles, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. That is one of the things that we stand on and that we stand for at Centers for Spiritual Living. And so as human beings that we are, we have lots of different values at lots of different levels. You know, we value being safe and we value belonging. We value having money and having free time. We value loyalty and achievement, reliability and commitment. And those are just a few of the things that we value. And all of those values that we hold benefit us. Yet, at the same time, we still have some ego-based values that are no longer applicable today, or that actually are no longer true, we have realized. Paradigms that we have been living out of that aren't really true. For example, one of those might be like a woman's place is in the home, or that men aren't allowed to feel their feelings, or that competition is the law of the land, and that means that only the strongest survive, and there is only one person on top and one winner. But what has happened, that's Darwin's theory of evolution, right? Survival of the strongest. But what has happened is scientists have discovered through doing over 400 studies that that is not true. In fact, I read something yesterday that Darwin never even stated that. Other people interpreted his studies to say survival of the fittest. That's not what he said. But scientists have discovered that that isn't true, but what is really true is that nature is based on a model of cooperation and on mutual aid, not competition. Think about it. You see bees and ants working together to create hives and to create ant nests. We see cleaner fish coming up and cleaning bigger fish and turtles as they approach from long out at sea as they approach the reef. Birds and monkeys alarm each other to predators that are coming out by hollering and doing the things that they do. Zebras and wildebeest actually travel together because it's safer, because zebras have an acute sense of hearing, and wildebeest have a sense of seeing. Zebras and wildebeest have an acute sense of hearing. So it's safer when they're together. And we all know the studies that have come out recently about trees and plants feeding each other. And that when the mother tree is dying, she sends nutrients to the other trees. That's working together, mutual cooperation, mutual aid. And so what if we all here lived with a paradigm that was based on survival via cooperation? What if we all lived with that lens, looking through that lens, survival via mutual aid as human beings? How does that feel inside of you? Does it feel better than competition and survival of the fittest? Survival based on cooperation and mutual aid? You know, as spiritual beings, we want to live in unity. We want to live in peace. We want to live in cooperation and in harmony. We want to create our own lives and a world that matches our heartfelt desires. And what I know for sure is that our heartfelt desires are the way that Spirit speaks to us. Those deepest heartfelt desires are the way life speaks to us so that it might unfold in a grander way. And so last week, we talked about, and I invited you to look at, what is your greatest desire for our country? What is your greatest vision for our country? And then to let that be the thing that informs your prayers and your meditations and your affirmations. So today is kind of part 2 of that talk. And so Socrates said, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. We build the new through an awareness of our own spiritual values, of our own spiritual principles. That's how we build the new world, not the one we are in at this moment, but the new world that we all long to live in. We build that world through hearing, listening to, heeding those spiritual values because they then determine our choices and our decisions and our actions. So today I'm going to invite all of us to get clear about what those spiritual principles and values are that we hold individually. I'm going to invite us to become aware of them so that as we move through our days, that informs our decision. And so as we fill out our ballots, that informs the decisions that we make. And so the title of my talk today is Stay Informed, as in stay informed from what's in here. And I'm talking about that when we stay awake to who we are, as out picturings of that infinite presence of love and goodness and wholeness, as we stay awake to that truth and aware of our spiritual principles, that enables us to create a world of good. And that enables us to be a divine presence in this world, to be a beneficial presence in this world. When we stop and listen within to our own heart and soul, that place within us that is not buffeted around by the world, when we listen to that, we rise above the fear and the worry and the angst and the confusion. When we are unclear in our thinking, if we go within and listen to that, we become crystal clear as to what's important to us, as to what it is that we truly value as spiritual beings. But it takes listening within, because when we only listen to our head and we only listen to that voice of the ego, that voice so often is based in fear and worry. And you might have noticed that voice is loud. It takes going within and listening to the quiet voice within us. The truth is, we are always creating. Every moment of our lives we are creating. And sometimes we create from a consciousness of fear and of lack. And sometimes we create out of a sense of enoughness and peace and wholeness and love. Sometimes we are creating out of our ego's need to be right, to be best, to be on top, to be the winner. Whoever gets in an argument with someone so that you can win, you find yourself holding on to that argument because you need to win. Sometimes we make that out of our choices out of a consciousness of needing to win, and sometimes we make our choices and decisions out of a consciousness of unity, togetherness, oneness, love. But we are always creating out of our values, out of our thinking, out of our awareness, out of our beliefs, our attitudes, and our values, and our principles. And so I'd like to share a story with you. It says, we're accustomed to thinking of strength as opposite to gentleness, softness, and tenderness. Yet, this is not always true. During World War I, British fighter pilots made an amazing discovery that thick layers of silk stopped low-velocity shrapnel better than steel. So they wound silk around their heads, and then they wore leather horse-riding helmets on top of the silk. Scientists still aren't sure what gives silk its strength, but it is true that in certain situations, soft, gentle, tender silk can prove far stronger than cold, hard steel. Jesus showed us the same holds true for human character. Some people try to make themselves impenetrable to the people around them. Jesus showed us that gentleness, a heart that's soft towards others, and tenderness are in fact qualities of great strength. True strength is the thing that will change the world. True strength comes from listening to our spirit, listening to our soul, listening to that within us which is divine, our own I am presence, which is none other than the voice of that eternal one. Ernest Holmes said, "The spiral of life is upward. Evolution carries us forward, not backward. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law, and there are no breaks in its continuity. It seems to me that our evolution is the result of the unfolding consciousness of that which already is and need but to be realized to become a fact in everyday life. That which already is within us, that is seeking to express in this world by means of us. When we are aware of the fact that we are always creating, when we are aware of the fact that one in consciousness with God constitutes a complete majority, when we are aware and heed our spiritual values and principles, then we create a world of peace. Then we create a world of harmony and of equality and of inclusion. There we create a world that supports the good for all. And so what are some of your spiritual values? You have a little piece of paper, and if you need a pen, will you raise your hand? And when you get that together, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Yes, and so I invite you to close your eyes and to move from your head to your heart. For in this place, there is only one. In this space within, there is no other. Only the fullness of Spirit, everywhere present. We are in it. We are of it. In this oneness, there is no lack. Instead, there is only boundless good that is ever available. Here we are whole. From this one, we are eternally sourced, unending. And so I invite you to ask yourself, when I step out of fear of any sort, what are my spiritual principles and values? What are my spiritual principles and values? What is it that I stand on, and what is it that I stand for? And I invite you to go ahead and start that list. And so I'm going to invite you to finish that list at home, because I'm sure that things will continue to come to you. But when we hold those values, when you hold those values at the forefront of your awareness, when you stay aware of those, that then will inform your choices and your action. That will determine your choices and your actions. When you keep those principles, those values at the forefront of your awareness, then you become inner driven instead of outer driven. And when you keep those at the forefront of your awareness, then you will be informed by that within you which can heal the world. That within you that can heal your relationships and your own individual life. It is then that you will be living in alignment with that living spirit within you, with the power and the perfection of life itself, the absolute, that unformed yet to be. And so my invitation to you this week is to listen within. To listen within to what you are for rather than what you are against. Because those are the things that you are for in your life. So listen within to what you are for rather than what you are against, and to give that your attention. To get centered every single day, to leave the crazy noise of the world and to get centered within yourself every day, and then to get centered in those spiritual principles that are important to you. Remind yourself of what those spiritual principles are. Put that list up in your house somewhere where you will see it. And before you make a choice, check in with yourself. Check in with yourself and ask yourself, where am I making this choice from? Am I making this choice from fear or from worry? Am I making this choice from a belief in scarcity or a perception in otherness? Or am I making this choice from my spirit? Am I making this choice from my own spiritual principles? Am I making this choice from my spiritual values? Am I making this choice from a place within me that thinks there isn't enough? A place that believes in competition? Or am I making this from a place within me that is eternal, that is whole, that within me that nothing has ever touched or injured? Am I making it from that part of myself? Am I making this decision from fear or from love? So be clear about what your spiritual principles are, what your values, your spiritual values are. Keep them at the forefront of your consciousness and stay informed. Informed from in here. The world is informing you with all sorts of stuff. Stay informed from inside yourself. And as a result, we will be creating a world that is in alignment with your spiritual principles and values. A world that actually reflects heaven on earth. And so blessings to every single one of you on this path of bringing your spirit into this world in a way that is healing, in a way that creates a world that works for everyone, in a way that really does create heaven on earth. Blessings to you. And so with that, I invite you to join me in affirmative prayer. And so we take our attention right now and we place it on the truth. The truth that there is only one power, one life, one presence, one beingness, that thing we call spirit, the infinite one, the eternal, endless, and boundless presence that is constantly and endlessly pouring itself forth as this thing we call life. That presence is constantly and endlessly pouring itself forth as wisdom and creativity, as peace, as solutions, as wholeness and power and order. And we recognize that presence is always right where we are, closer than our very breathing. That infinite one is filling us and overflowing through us, for we are it here in form. And therefore, that means that what is true of that infinite and boundless one is our divine nature. It is who and what we are. And so today we reach deep within and call forward our own wisdom. We call forward our light and our love, our generosity and our compassion, our kindness and our wisdom, knowing that we are guided and guarded from on high. For we are here today opening ourselves and saying yes to that infinite one. And in our openness and in that yes, that infinite presence pours into us and through us, out from us into this world as a blessing for ourselves and a blessing for all. I speak this word not just about us here in this room, but I speak this word about every single person on this planet, knowing that right where they are is also this presence. And that right now it is unfolding in their lives as the exact thing that they need right now. As guidance, as direction, as abundant prosperity, as health and wholeness, as good without bound. And I speak this word right now about every single politician, every single world leader, every single decision maker, knowing that that most high God, that infinite mind and absolute intelligence right now is within them. And it is that that is coming forward. It is that that is leading their choices and their decisions and their actions. For Spirit is having its way through and as each one of them. And I claim and know right now that anything that does not match the light and the truth that Spirit is simply dissipates into the nothingness from whence it came, for there is nothing to support it. In its place, light and intelligence, love and unity, wholeness and good. And so it is with a grateful heart that I release this prayer into the creative law of the universe, knowing that it always says yes. And so today we are in agreement with that, in agreement with that infinite one. And together we constitute a majority. And so I release this prayer in gratitude, and I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. And so I have a few invitations for you as a way to participate in this family. My first one is, who would like to write a prayer for our world for next week? For our world to share. Will you do that? Awesome. We have a new visitor today. I'm sorry, I forget what your name is. Barbara Wally is with us. Are you a minister? Oh, I didn't even know that. We have a minister in the house with us. Welcome, Barbara Wally. She's going to write a prayer for us next week. Awesome. That's awesome. So we will be here next week, and then the following 2 weeks we do not have a venue because they're going to be voting in here. So we're going November 3rd. We are going to be having a You Name the Price pancake breakfast. In conjunction with a community outreach, we are working with Lutheran Social Family Services of Long Beach. We're working with them. We're collecting kitchen items. It is for people who are moving from homelessness into their first place of residence. And so they can be brand new or gently used kitchen items or family games. So we're going to be collecting those also at the pancake breakfast. It will be, I'm not sure where yet. It's going to either be at Joy's house or Chris's house. We'll let you know next week. 10 o'clock, we will not be here. The following week, we are going to meet at El Dorado Nature Center and do forest bathing and do a nature walk. So we invite you to join us for that at 10 o'clock at the Nature Center, El Dorado Nature Center. Pat and Mike are still working with the homeless, and if you would like to join them in doing the outreach that they're doing, talk with them. Will you raise your hand? They would love to have you join them. We have prayer support after church. We have a Ministry of Prayer box in the back. You can fill out a prayer request. We will hold you in prayer during the week. Our practitioners are happy to sit and do prayer with you individually. We have prayer shawls. If you would like to be wrapped in that energy of prayer, you are invited to take one with you to gift to yourself or to someone else. Our Sunday talks come out on Monday night on YouTube. I got an email this morning from YouTube that we now have 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel. That's cool, yeah. So I invite you to share our talks, especially when you hear something that you think is meaningful and you know people that would be served from hearing that, to share that link with them. And to help us grow via social media, to check in on Meetup and say, I'm coming, to like us on Facebook, to share Facebook posts, and to share Instagram posts. Thank you. And so I invite you to repeat after me, good fills my life now. I recognize it. I savor it. I own it. I live it. And so it is.